Hungry for some vintage two-wheeled action? Then grab a plate, because we're cooking up some tasty treats here at Mid-Ohio. In the mood for an Italian hero or just some good old American fare? It's all here. But you better get here early or you'll be fixing leftovers and picking through the scraps. Still hungry? How about a side order of racing with a single shot to wash it all down? Don't worry, we got it all on tap. For dessert, well, let's just say we've got a few tricks up our sleeve. So loosen your belt and pull up a seat, because at the AMA Vintage Motorcycle Days, you don't need a reservation. What could possibly lure 40,000 motorcycle junkies to a small town in the middle of Ohio? Oh, just the largest vintage bike event in the world. Every classic bike is here, along with some you won't see anywhere else. Check out this copper-plated chopper dubbed the Copper Kettle. Betcha that'll set you back a pretty penny. This may come as a shock, but one of the biggest draws at the Vintage Motorcycle Days is the swap meet, the largest of its kind in the country.
The vast majority of vendors are here, in set, they're ready to go, and we're open for the public. It's showtime.
Dennis Hale is the ambassador of junk. His job is to make sure that everything at the swap meet runs smoothly, mainly to quell any turf wars that may arise during the weekend. Arr, matey, you just never know what sort of treasure is buried here. Okay, so there's no ill-gotten booty, but for a vintage bike owner, finding that elusive part is worth its weight in gold. It takes hours just to see it all, let alone start looking through all the stuff. We should warn you, though, this is no AutoZone. For the best deals, you're gonna have to dig around a little bit. So I'm wondering, now that it's all here, do they really sell this stuff?
I have absolutely sold just about anything I brought. I've had a wonderful time. You could sell an Eskimo and ice cube here. I mean, everything sells.
Well, there you have it. Then again, with a bargain bin like this, it's no wonder he sold everything. Now, check out this guy, at it all day, and no signs of tiring out.
Found so many good deals, I ran out of money on Friday, had to go to the bank and get more. So I'm having lots of fun, but marital bliss will suffer.
So, what do you get when you cross the world's largest motorcycle swap meet with vintage racing? One word, Mamba. Short for the Mid-Ohio Motorcycle Build Attempt.
We are attempting the impossible by building a complete competitive race bike from nothing but parts in a swap meet and trying to race it on Sunday in 3 days, 72 hours. So, big challenge.
A challenge indeed. But for Wes Orloff, this is an idea that he's been brewing up for some time while working for Harley-Davidson. But at the moment, the Mamba campsite looks more like a bad accident than a vintage road racer. Working with limited funds in his wallet, Wes has managed to find some great deals at the swap meet. And some that just didn't quite work out. As for the rest of the unused parts, well, they get kicked to the curb for others to pick through, for a small donation, of course.
This bike's made from 4 donor bikes. Frames are cut in half, engines are there, front wheels, rear wheels from all these donor bikes. So it's gonna be pretty cool. And yeah, I'm having a good time.
With any luck, by Sunday, Wes will toss the keys over to Mitch Boehm. Mitch is an avid racer and the editor of Motorcyclist magazine. But before they can even think about racing this thing, the focus right now is on putting all the odd pieces together. There will be many obstacles standing in their way, but perhaps the greatest of all will be time.
And we're literally building something in 3 days. It has to be competitive. We had to do engine work. We had to do everything it takes to develop a race bike that's usually done over a year's time frame, all compressed into 3 days. And the only way to do that is to get a big group of people so everyone can work in parallel.
Wes has managed to recruit some of the best and brightest motorcycle mechanics, fabricators, designers, and roller derby girls. Yeah, you heard that right. Roller derby girls. With an eclectic group like this, how can they lose? So that's what riding shotgun means. Boy, this gives a new meaning to defensive driving. Seriously though, this weekend isn't all about rummaging for parts. We're here to race, and what better way to kick things off than with some vintage sidecar racing? There's a couple things you gotta know about these vintage sidecars. First, they're not your average sidecars. The passenger has no seat. Oh, and another thing, don't call them passengers. They're monkeys. I'm not making this up. Bob Demetrius has been racing for years, but his monkey, his girlfriend Christina, is fresh out of the tree.
When they talk about the monkey position and how that name came about, it really stems back from if you think about what the passenger's doing at speed is they're really leaping around point to point, kind of like a monkey swinging through the tree. They have to be acrobatic, they have to be very sure of their grip, they have to be very precision on their moves because we're going at speed sometimes excess of 100 miles an hour. When you're making a transition, if you miss a handhold or if you miss a slip, you're off the back.
But by the looks of it, you'd never know this was Christina's second race. She seems to really have the hang of it.
Passengering is actually the most fun.
Yeah, right, we'll see.
Passenger is very, very important in this sport, and I really enjoyed passengering, but then I had a hard time finding drivers that didn't crash.
So rather than play second banana to crash-prone drivers, Peter built his own sidecar.
It's an old bike. I built it in 1977, and we've had a lot of success with it, and it's a good time. Like I say, I haven't been here since 1982, so I really look forward to the opportunity to come back to Mid-Ohio. It's a great racetrack, and it looks like we're going to have good weather and a lot of fans.
Sidecars can have the chair on the right side or the left. While right-chaired sidecars may have a slight advantage on this course, they all have to negotiate around the same 2.4-mile stretch of track 6 times. Easier said than done. Remember, these three-wheelers don't handle like their two-wheeled cousins.
The unique thing about a sidecar versus a solo bike is that the solo bike lays over into a corner and a sidecar, of course, can't. And so the whole primary function of the monkey is a lot more important to sidecar racing than it looks. The monkey actually initiates the turn, makes the turn happen by putting their body weight at the right point on the rig at the right time, and the driver then is responsible for carrying the initiation through and exiting out of the corner.
To increase the cornering speed, the monkey hikes out as far as possible. But have you ever heard of the saying, look before you leap? Well, in sidecar racing, the monkey has to make sure the coast is clear before sticking their necks out, especially when another sidecar takes the inside for a pass. Better to lose the race than one's head.
When we get at the apex of the corner, just like on a solo bike, the load lessens, and that's where the monkey can make their move. And so there's a real science behind when the monkey moves on the sidecar and when not. If they move too late, the G-force will be too great and they can't move. They're stuck out there. And if they're not in the right spot, the sidecar will flip over.
Whoa, that was close. Now, when riding along at speeds in excess of 100 miles per hour, just inches off the ground, you can bet there's no monkey business.
You know, when your driver and you, the passenger, are working in unison and doing everything just right. You're moving together, you're sliding together. Yeah, it's just like, there's no feeling in the world of two people going that fast on three wheels.
But when the synergy of the team breaks down, it usually spells disaster. Looks like Christina missed a turn, and unfortunately, it's the end of the road for them. I'm sure they'll get back on track next time. With a few more races under her belt and watching some of these more experienced riders, Christina will pick it up quick. I mean, after all, monkey see, monkey do, right? Nothing says racing like MV Agusta. The company's rich 60-year heritage takes center stage all weekend long.
Very significant, prominent motorcycles that are here at the MV Agusta display to see. And it's a huge opportunity for people to see motorcycles that they will never ever see again. They're one of a kind, and they're in the millions of dollars. They're so rare and valuable.
In the 1960s, this legendary marquee redefined the word dynasty. Not before nor since has any other manufacturer dominated the motorcycle racing world like MV Agusta.
MV's got a very historical past. It's one of the only brands within a 25-year span. It won 155 Grand Prix races, 37 world titles.
You're looking at the future of MV Agusta racing, the F4 1000R. The F4 was designed from the ground up to be one of the fastest 1000cc super sport bikes in the world. Did we mention the engine was designed by Ferrari?
Giacomo Agostini, the probably finest motorcycle racer in the world, 15 world championships. He's here this weekend signing autographs.
One can't underestimate the impact that Giacomo Agostini has had on the motorcycle racing world. Ago, as he's known throughout the world, was inducted into the Motorcycle Hall of Fame in 1999 and is this year's Grand Marshal at the Vintage Motorcycle Days. To celebrate this weekend, Ago is reunited with a late 1960s 500cc Agusta. For those who don't follow motorcycle racing here in the U.S., Ago shows why he is the Tiger Woods of racing. By today's standards, this 3-cylinder, 92-horsepower engine is considered a lightweight. But in its day, no other bike could match its superior handling. And following its 1966 debut, it won 7 consecutive world championships with Ago in the seat. After working well into the morning hours, the bike seems to be taking shape. With only an hour before the practice run, the team is frantically putting on the final touches.
If we can get it on the racetrack and get it to work okay and finish mid-pack, that's a victory because it's been a gas working with these folks from most of them are from Wisconsin and just in the Midwest, and it's just a great. This is what racing's all about. I mean, you don't always have to win.
Owner bikes.
That one looks like it's on.
I'm adjusting the clutch. One of those great final things before you fire it up and ride it.
Most of the guys were up till 6 o'clock in the morning. At the start of the night, the bike wasn't painted. At the end of the night, it looked like that. I think it looked pretty good.
At first glance, the bike appears to be an early 1980s Kawasaki. Now, if they can get it to pass technical inspection, the bike will compete in the middleweight superbike class on Sunday. Getting it to run and ready to race are worlds apart. Well, it seems to work. The open practice session will give Wes and the rest of the Team Mamba a real-world assessment of how well the bike handles. Like any good captain, Wes is willing to go down with the ship. If it doesn't work, he'll take the fall. But let's hope not literally.
I wonder if it's wobbling at all.
Although the bike seems to have plenty of power, it seems to be really loose in the turns. You don't suppose that Mitch is having a change of heart about this racing thing, do you? Nah.
It's kind of beating the obstacles that makes it fun, and they've beaten a lot of them, and I think that if the thing will hold together, we'll be fine tomorrow. You know, even if the thing wobbles, I'll just have to race it. You know, keep the throttle open and hang on. Hopefully it doesn't pitch me off down the road.
Well, it looks like it's going to be another long night for the Mamba crew. They got to figure out the wobbling issue.
We're going to go for it tonight. Everyone's tired, everyone's a little crabby, but it's this is a big boost just to see it out on the track.
We don't exactly recommend doing this with your own bike.
That was a lot of fun.
Unless, of course, you happen to be part of the hottest stunt team in the country. Meet Adam Chimita and Todd Colbert from Team Extreme. Based out of Orlando, Florida, Team Extreme is here in Ohio with their latest bag of tricks.
I started doing wheelies and I just started picking them up real quick and started doing one stunt after another, and next thing you know, I started doing stunt shows and it seems to be working out so far.
Extreme stunt riding has come a long way in recent years. What used to be a bunch of kids doing stunts on the street, often eluding the police, has evolved into a legitimate sponsored professional sport.
It is an extreme sport, so, I mean, you know, we try to wear our gear and everything like that, so nothing bad has happened for a while. Knock on the old motorcycle.
Team Extreme is sponsored by Buell Motorcycles. And except for a few minor modifications, these bikes are relatively stock. For this show, Adam tries out a new trick called the circle wheelie. Now, a wheelie is hard enough to pull off, but doing it at such a slow speed while going in a circle, that's just sick. Not sure if that's where you're supposed to sit, Todd, but it seems he has a handle on it. Adam is gearing up for one of today's toughest tricks, the endo.
You get your speed up and you rev it real quick, and then you use all your front brakes and balance point. It's probably one of the most dangerous stunts out there because of the fact of if anything bad does happen, you got a 400-pound motorcycle chasing you down.
Check out this endo from Todd. Whoa, whoa, man, that's way too close for comfort. Now, to add even more difficulty to the trick, Adam pulls off a crazy wheelie before dropping it into an endo. Man, I told you these guys were good. Okay, boys, time to circle the wagons. Now, they call this one the rodeo. Not sure about you, but I think it's best we steer clear of this one before we get roped in. And speaking of getting roped in, looks like the boys have convinced the motorcycle junk girls to help with the next couple of tricks. Here's a bit of advice for you ladies. Don't move. Did I say don't move? I meant get out of the way. So do you think that was part of the trick? Oh well, the show must go on, right? Wait a second, is Adam doing what I think he's doing? Brakes don't fail me now. Boy, I tell you, whatever these girls are getting paid, it's not enough. Now, if there's one thing I like about these guys, it's their can-do attitude. Well, if this doesn't scare off the motorcycle junk girls, nothing will. And for the finale, Adam shows us his signature stunt, the flamingo. Man, that is one crazy bird. Here to show us you can teach old dogs new tricks is Scott Smallwood. Scott started out racing vintage scooters, but quickly realized he needed something a bit faster than a Vespa. So Scott's current obsession is a '98 Honda GP 125. While this ride isn't exactly vintage, it is eligible to compete in the Sound of Singles division.
One of the biggest aspects of racing a 125 is the start. The reason being is a 125 engine is a pretty compact package.
Don't let the GP 125's diminutive package fool you. This one-cylinder two-stroker is a precision race machine.
The one thing a 125 does is it teaches you about depth perception. On a 125, you can brake much later than any other motorcycle out there.
Because the bike only weighs about 165 pounds, it allows you to go into a turn much faster than heavier, less nimble bikes. This gives the 125 a huge advantage.
If you allow the bike to get out of the power band to where you're not able to keep that momentum in the turn, it's like starting all over.
The downside is that since a 125 is geared for speed, you've got to stay consistent through the course. Slow down too much and you're likely to drop to the back of the pack. But today, Scott has his machine dialed in.
A GP 125 is a perfect precursor to a career in motorcycling, or maybe moving up to a larger bike. And I get a little bit of a taunting occasion because I choose to stay on a 125, at least for now. The reason being is it's an exceptional tool. It's like a scalpel.
The 15 turns that make up the Mid-Ohio course are no match for Scott and his 125. He's carving them up like a surgeon. Topping out at speeds of 120 miles per hour, Scott is pushing his bike to the outer limits. But at these speeds, one wrong move could ruin your day.
When you get going 115, 120 and you can fall off, you know, a lot of stuff can start breaking.
When Bob isn't riding along on three wheels, his bike of choice is also a GP 125. The 125 gives Bob the freedom to lean into a turn and literally ride it on the edge. I get the feeling Bob is happy to get the monkey off his back, at least for this race.
This is where the tire's blistering. That's right the edge where you're just, you know, spinning it up and going over.
You're often reminding yourself, of your braking points, your cornering speed, and trying to be very, very smooth.
But with that said, sometimes you just run out of tire. Hang on, Bob. Oh, ouch. For Scott, the race goes on without any unexpected trips to the asphalt. It's no wonder that Scott is the reigning national champion in the Sound of Singles GP 125 class. Looks like Scott will have to make some more room on that mantle for another trophy. Well, it seems the Mamba team is ready to race. And the good news for Mitch is the wobbling is gone.
It's a complete transformation from yesterday, 180 degrees. The thing handles, it doesn't wallow, it's fast. We just made a jetting change, we changed the air filter configuration. Now it just rips, it's a Banshee. Now how, relative to the other bikes in the class, no clue.
But considering the obstacles Team Mamba had to beat to get this bike ready for Mitch, I'd say they won before the race even started. Mitch started off on the back row, but has managed to beat his way to the middle of the pack. Pretty impressive, really.
There's been a lot of ups and downs along the way, most of which have been handled by those guys behind me. I haven't done anything but sit around and watch. To take an old cruiser, crappy cruiser bike for $400 and buy 2 other donor bikes for another $400 and strip them down and put all the parts together in one and get it running and make it race ready and have it pass technical inspection and then actually run it at the races, that's a huge achievement.
Something to be said about one man's trash is another's treasure. You just gotta know what you're looking for. And for Team Mamba, I think they found it. They may not have grabbed the checkered flag, but just crossing the finish line was a victory all in itself.